Everybody's on. Injustice. How are you doing? How are you all doing, comrades?
I am fine, and I think the rest of the team is wonderful too. It's
Okay.
nice to be here with you. My very first time on a TikTok live.
Oh, wow. I'm happy that the first time is with me. I'm so happy to hear that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, comrades. So tonight it is my distinct pleasure to have the entire team of justice spokespersons from the PNP, starting with Senator Donna Scott Motley, who is the opposition spokesperson on justice. We also have the deputy spokesperson, which is Patrick Peterkin. And we also have Sharian Henry, who is the junior shadow minister on justice. Am I right, Shari? That is your official post? Shari is still on mute. All right.
Good evening, Comrade. Thanks for having me.
Okay, nice. I'm happy to have you all. All right, so we have been watching with some shock everything that has been happening with this Constitutional Reform Committee and the report which the PNP has not signed. Now, I want to hear from Comrade Scott Motley. Why is it that the PNP didn't sign the report?
Well, thank you for asking that question. It's a very important question and the whole base of why there is this stalemate.
Right.
The People's National Party has always made it clear that, in their opinion, if we are going to have decolonization, it has to be full decolonization. You can't just step halfway out of the house, like how you can't be half pregnant.
Right.
You needed to leave the monarchy and also leave the king's court, because the Privy Council is the king's court. Now, people are behaving as though this is one shocking decision which has been taken. But the party leader made it very clear that he was not going to be a part of this process unless the decision to have the CCJ, ascension to the CCJ, be part of phase 2, unless that be moved up to phase 1. And he said it at the annual conference in September last year.
I remember that.
We have been at the table, it is true. We went to the table after there was an attempt to get us there by having a Vale Royal talk. We sat down and we came to some decisions. As a result of that, the party leader named Anthony and myself to the Constitutional Reform Committee, and also suggested that the committee could be strengthened if someone else could also be added. They allowed us to make a nomination, and we nominated Hugh Small.
Okay.
On that committee. So since we have commenced, and from the very first meeting we have been unrelenting in our stance that we wanted to do both things at the same time: leave the monarchy and leave the king's court. It has now come to the stage where a draft report has been prepared, and all the promises which have been made that we would have some dialogue and some consultation about the CCJ prior to the report, none of them have materialized. The Minister Malahoo Fort had promised that the Prime Minister would have addressed the nation on October 30. That has not been forthcoming. Several promises have been made that she would make an attempt to have him come and meet with the Constitutional Reform Committee. That has not happened. Yet a report has been signed and sent off to cabinet.
And I find that very, very strange. So before I go on to the other issue, who, apart from, well, obviously you and your counterpart, that is Anthony Hilton, who have the other members signed?
Anthony, Hugh, and myself have been the three who have not signed. Now, the question that I think should be asked is, the other persons who are sitting at the table in a representative capacity, have they had any consultations with the people who they represent? Have they discussed it? Is it their individual position, or is it representative of the organizations that who they represent? We have civil society, we have the church, we have different entities at the table. Who are they consulted with?
I find it very strange. When did you first see this report that just suddenly appeared out of nowhere?
No, the draft report has been with us since, if I can recall correctly, since the end of March. Remember, we started this process March last year.
Right.
I recall that on April 10th, when I saw the annex, which set out the schedule, the intention was to have us sign the report on April 10th. And I made it very clear that there could be no signing of any report on the part of the opposition unless the leader and his team had an opportunity to view it.
There was some. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
In fact, after that, after my protestations, it was Dr. Barnett who suggested that, okay, let us go to the final draft, and at that stage, we could consult with the leader. But it was, in my view, never the intention that there should be any consultation permitted, because we were asked to come and sign. I think the date, I think it was May. So don't let me quote a date, but suffice it to say that at the time when we were asked to sign, the leader had not had a consultation with us.
I find it so strange because I remember when Comrade Hilton, he was almost basically misquoted last week in the media, as if to say, he had to get permission from the leader before he could make a decision. So,
No, in fact,
right.
Comrade Hilton has been so persistent about the CCJ. And in fact, he reserved on 2 points, saying that when the decision was taken that impeachment would not be included in the Constitution, he made it clear that that was something the leader had tabled a bill in the Parliament on impeachment. In fact, it was Bruce Golding who first tabled the bill on impeachment, and it was not passed. And then the leader tabled it, and it has still not been debated. So Anthony was the person who said, we can't come to that conclusion and not have the leader be made aware that the committee is of the view that the impeachment should be left out altogether out of the Constitution. Pamela, what I find very strange about this process is if
Comrade Donna, you muted yourself. You have to unmute. Go ahead now.
I hope I know how to do it.
Yeah, man, you're fine now. You're fine now. You're okay now.
Yes. So if the draft if the draft report is
you're gone again. Yeah, you were muted, but you're in again. Go ahead now. Mute again. I'm not sure why you keep muting.
All right. The draft report is supposed to be based on the consultations which have been had with the people. Why is it that the report must be embargoed and not shared with the people?
Well, that was my very next question. How is it that the report, because this is the first time we're hearing about a report, So how is it that this is supposed to be a consultative process and we're not hearing anything? Where has the consultation occurred? I want to take the opportunity now to ask you, Comrade Peter King, what do you think about the whole consultative process so far being employed by the government? Do you think they've done enough to consult with the people
Well,
to even
well,
reach the point of a report?
well, I've, I've not really seen any real consultation taking place um, in relation to this constitutional reform. I know that they have put in place a committee, and my thinking would be that this committee would have persons, as Comrade Donna said, from who represent various stakeholders, and I think in terms of this report should really come back to us so that we can have some form of discussion before we go ahead and finalize these things. So to me, it's kind of a it's kind of like a clandestine type of thing where they just keeping it among this committee and then presenting it to cabinet before um, we have any real discussion on where we are going with respect to the reform.
Okay, so have you had the opportunity to see the report? Even you, Comrade Shari, aside from Comrade Donna, of course, who is on the committee. What about the two of you? Have you seen anything?
Well,
No
Comrade,
report. I haven't seen any report. I don't think the report is public. That's what the PNP is now demanding for the
Right.
report to be made public. So I haven't seen anything from the report.
You see, no, this confuses me because what is the, so probably I should be asking you this, Comrade Donna. What is the next step with this secret report then? Where does it go now? Since nobody can see it.
It is with the cabinet now. They say they are reviewing it, and when they have completed their review, it will be tabled. I think that the process should be different. I think the people should have the opportunity to discuss and debate the report before it goes to cabinet, so that when a bill is tabled, it is well informed. Now, I have said consistently that the consultation, in my view, has not been sufficient, that the people's views have not been heard. Now, the truth of it is that if we at least engage the public, there are some of the things that we could trash out. As you're aware, Kamala, in the
Yeah.
beginning of this discussion in the 1990s, when that Joint Select Committee was set up, the People's National Party said they wanted an executive president.
Right.
In order
Yes.
for us to move forward, we said, okay, that's fine. We will go with the ceremonial president. We did not want to block the process, and we compromised on it.
Yeah.
And this is now the people are saying that they want an executive presidency. Let us at least hear from them how they see this working, how they see it evolving. There are questions which I have asked of persons. For example, how do you think it would work in Jamaica if the president is a PNP and the parliament is JLP?
Mm-hmm.
And these are things that we have to talk through to see whether, in fact, Jamaica's fundamental structures can accommodate an executive presidency, or we will have to stick with what we are proposing, which is an more
so
A
not a
mix.
non-ceremonial, a mixed type of presidency.
Mm-hmm. I saw that. You know, I am not
Kamala,
really surprised though, you know.
okay.
Yes, Shari, you were saying something?
And what is important to note is the 58% of Jamaicans who indicate that the CCJ should be the final court of appeal for Jamaica. Now, this morning I was in a chat with a member, Mr. Boswell, from a member of the CRC, and he said the 58% is just a snapshot, and we can't state who did the poll, who did that survey for us to basically be relying on it. And I'm saying if we're moving forward as a country, and this is so important to us as it relates to legal issues, of course, 58% is evidence, enough evidence to guide the push for the CCJ to be that final court of appeal. So they're also trying to dodge that 58% to justify their, pointless positions moving forward.
Okay. Go ahead, Comrade Peterkin. You're saying something?
Yes, I'm just saying that it persons are also asking the question, just as Comrade Shari has said, in terms of the CCJ. Why is this push that we are resisting having our own court? Even though we are saying that we are moving forward into a republic, and we're still kind of holding on to the British. In this we are what, 2024 now, and the JLP really needs to come to the public and indicate what is this fight against the CCJ, which has been in for several years now. I think it may be close to 20 years now that
20.
the CCJ is functioning for other islands in the region. It is a reputable court. The judgments which come from the court are sound, and I don't know what is this resistance against the court, that to the extent that they will make it stall a process that really and truly it should be of some form of cooperation between all everybody, JLP, PNP. Everybody should be pushing towards going to a republic. But I don't think the party's position is unreasonable at this time, that we really want a full push towards decolonization, and not a half and half.
All right. I have two questions now. First for Comrade Donna. To your knowledge, has the government articulated its position on why it's so resistant to the CCJ?
No, they have never discussed it. Well, in the past, when Bruce Golding was Prime Minister, he was proposing that the final court of appeal should be a Jamaican final court of appeal.
I remember that.
But the objections which they had at that time to the CCJ would be even more significant if we had a final court here, because they were talking about the proximity, the fact that all the people would have gone to law school together, those sorts of objections, which demonstrate that they don't have any confidence in the people and in the judiciary to be independent. In fact, the former president of the Court of Appeal, Justice Dennis Barron, said that we should be encouraging people to have the CCJ for precisely that reason, because persons would have a sense of the nature of the person who was going to be appointed to the court. They would have grown up with them.
Exactly. Oh, Comrade Donna, you're muted again. Go ahead now.
Oh dear.
Yeah, you're fine now. You're
Are
back.
you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you now.
So in recent times, we have not had a position. In fact, as you will
Gone again. All right, you paused totally now. All right, in the meantime, until Comrade Donna comes back, Comrade Sharp.
yes,
Oh, you're back now? Okay. I don't know. You keep, you're pressing something that mutes you. Yeah. But I'm hearing you now.
That calls keep on coming.
Oh,
So
yes.
remember,
yes,
that we had the dispute when Andrew Holness was taken to court by Arthur Williams. It was
Yes.
because they had actually constructed a device while Andrew was leader of the opposition to prevent any member of the opposition Senate with joining with the government to bring into effect the CCJ as the final
Right.
court of appeal.
I remember that.
So that you had to sign when he nominated you, you had to sign as a prospective senator a letter of resignation in the event that you did so.
Yes, at the pre-signed resignation.
The pre-signed resignation letters. It was about the Caribbean Court of Justice. That was the device. But since then, they have not articulated a position for or against the court. And that is one of the questions which we have been asking. Why is it that you won't tell the country what it is that you have against the court. Why are you so resistant to leaving the king's court? You say you want to leave the king's palace. Why do you want to remain in his court?
Probably because he has the designation. What is the PC?
He's a
He
privy
has,
council, yes.
maybe that's why I'm just saying. But a follow-up question. We are already involved with the CCJ to some extent because I remember distinctly that a Jamaican has already benefited from the ruling of the CCJ. Shanique Mary,
Shanique
who took the
Mary, in
government,
fact,
right, took the government of Barbados to court for
yes,
denying her
yes.
entry.
The matter was tried in Jamaica. The court came to Jamaica and heard the matter. Anthony Hilton was one of the attorneys involved in that case, and she got justice.
Yes, she did.
She got
Yeah.
justice.
So we have seen a demonstration of the CCJ at work. Now, how is it that Shanique was able to go to the CCJ for that case? A lot of Jamaicans don't understand. How is it that we're not part of the CCJ, but yet Shanique Mary was able to access them?
Because there are two jurisdictions with the CCJ. There is an original jurisdiction on which you can litigate matters like that and trade matters. And then there is the other jurisdiction, which is the appellate jurisdiction, where persons go to have their matters determined. In fact, one of the first cases which was heard by the CCJ was an appeal from Barbados, where the matter had been lingering for like 10 years. And that case was heard by the CCJ because Barbados was one of the first persons to join both the original and appellate jurisdiction. So we are automatically, by virtue of being CARICOM members, we have access to
the original.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. Comrade Shari, I see a similarity between, well, the JLP is just being the JLP because really and truly there is no difference in how the House Speaker attempted to handle the Auditor General's report, the IC report. The Auditor General's report and the IC report. She tried to have it vetted by the cabinet before the public, before it went to Parliament. Do you see the similarities, Comrade Shari? Comrade Shari, you're there?
Yes, I'm here. The similarity, I guess that they want to somewhat distance themselves from the process whilst they are behind the process. So you have a CRC committee, but when the PNP is assertive about its position, you're arguing that we are making it political. But the CRC, it has been implemented for a political agenda, in my view. The fact that you're not adding the CCJ on the agenda, no. It simply means that your agenda is to push forward, move into the monarch. In the same event that when they had the reports in Parliament, because it would have, of course, highlighted some of the issues, they basically, swing it in someone else's hand to kind of take the attention from them. But in truth and in fact, they know what their agenda is with both aspects.
Indeed.
So there are some similarities.
Yeah. All right. Earlier, Comrade Donna, you mentioned about the impeachment, the fact that they wanted to remove or they didn't put the impeachment clause in the report. Please, you can expound on that, please. A lot of the listeners don't understand.
So, the recommendation from the Constitutional Reform Committee was that there should be no inclusion of an impeachment process in the Reform Constitution, and then it went on to state the reasons why. In their view, it should not be. And that was one of the things that it was really their decision rather than having the views of, for example, the opposition leader, the civil society, the youth, the church, and so on. It's there. There are some of the recommendations which, in my view, are influenced by what the government wants. Not what the people want, but what the government wants. And this is the same thing with the CCJ, that when it suits them, they dismiss the polling.
Yeah.
Polling has been used as a guide to determine what the priorities of any government should be. Businesses use polls. So, but in this case, because a poll result of 58.9% does not suit them, then it's not relevant. It's only a snapshot in time. But let me tell you what happened. The before this year, the last poll, which was taken about persons wanting to leave the republic,
Right.
was 43%. The year before, it was higher. It was in the 50s.
I remember that.
And what that demonstrates to me is that people are already responding to the approach which is being taken in this constitutional consultation process. Now, remember, the only way that we can actually leave the monarchy is in a referendum.
In a
So
referendum.
if the people don't understand what they're doing, if the consultations are not thorough, we are not preparing the people to vote positively in that referendum. So we are setting up ourselves for a failed referendum. And I think that people need to be conscious of that. Do we want to fail? Is it the opposition who is presenting an obstacle, or is it the government who is presenting the obstacle? Because the government is refusing to come to the table when it should be representing the majority views of the public. It is resigning from its responsibility to the people of this country. Explain to the nation your position and let the nation tell you how they feel. For me, it's a very simple matter.
You know, I want to go back to the 90s. And you, as a member of the government at that time, and the JLP being the opposition, what was their position on a Caribbean court at that time, Court of Appeal at that time? How open were they to the idea during that time?
Well, in the 1990s, which is when we had the Joint Select Committee, the basis of which now forms our discussions in the CRC, there was an agreement. At that time, we didn't have a CCJ because the CCJ came into existence in 2001 and actually started sitting in 2005. But there was an agreement at that time that when we had a regional court, one of the things that we would do is put it on the table to be a part of that regional court. That was a recommendation which came out of the committee.
And so at that time, they were open to it.
It appears so.
Okay.
It appears as though they were open to it.
So what I'm trying to ascertain is, when exactly did they start to resist the idea of basically transitioning to this, leaving the Privy Council and transitioning to the CCJ? Because as you say, I'm not getting the impression that they even know why they have taken this stance. It is clear because, as you brought up before, Andrew Holness had them sign on the senators sign on the predated resignation letters, should in case they vote. So obviously they are resistant to it. I'm just trying to ascertain what was happening because you were an integral part during that administration. I'm trying to figure out what was happening.
Well, Kamala, I think that if you ask them, they themselves don't know. Mr. Siaga at the time said, let's observe the court and see how it evolves. Let's give it a good time. Let's give it 5 to 10 years, and then we can decide whether we want to join it.
So I was listening to the press conference today, and one thing that I noted, the NNN reporter had asked about the CCJ issue itself going to referendum, and I heard comrade leaders saying that it wouldn't be practical or wise. Can you explain why?
I don't think that is the question of the court should go to referendum. It's not required in law.
Okay.
The Privy Council is not entrenched in our constitution. But when they took the whole issue of the CCJ to the Privy Council says that the apex court or final court of appeal should be entrenched in the Constitution. You don't need a referendum in order to entrench it. And we have the historical lessons from which we can learn. It has been done throughout the Caribbean, and all of them have failed. There has been no successful referendum in the Caribbean.
Interesting.
And
Interesting.
our analysts need to sit back and understand why. The Prime Minister of St. Vincent has been very clear. You can't put too many things on the ballot.
True.
You can't, once you put too many things on the ballot, people just instinctively and intuitively vote no.
Yeah.
If it is not necessary, if we can go and do that by 2/3 of both parliaments agreeing to it, and we have evidence that people would want to join the Caribbean Court of Justice, why would we put it on the ballot?
Interesting. Indeed. I was listening to you on Deion Jackson Miller's program, right, a little bit before we started. And, there is something that you read, which it shocked me. I can't even say shocked me because probably I've never heard any of these Privy Council, what you call them now, being read out. I've never listened to them.
Yes.
But it was from the Vibes Cartel ruling.
Yes.
And the wording of the Vibes Cartel ruling. Do you have it at hand? Because I want this to hit the listeners, and I want the audience to hear the impact of it. I'd love for you to read it on this program.
Pamela, I actually have it at hand because I'm talking to you from the study. When I read it, I can't tell you how it made me feel. But let me read it so that your listeners can say how it makes them feel. It says, His Majesty was pleased by and with the advice of his Privy Council to approve the report and to order that those charged with administering the government of Jamaica and all others whom it may concern are to ensure that it is punctually observed and obeyed. I felt like a servant.
I feel like we're still a colony. That's how it made me feel when I heard you reading it.
Yes, that's it. These are orders which they're giving, and then telling us that it must be punctually observed and obeyed.
Yes, those are his words.
Obeyed.
The king, when last the king has been to Jamaica?
Well, the king has never.
Not in his capacity as king, but
as king. And I frankly believe that if Queen Elizabeth had been still alive, we would not be having this discussion about leaving the monarchy.
But the only reason we're having the discussion is because Barbados did it. And Andrew Holness saw the reaction of Jamaicans when Barbados did it, and being the populist that he is, jumped on board, not realizing remember, that is what started this whole thing, when your dear niece-in-law started the process.
Well, I'm extremely proud of her because she's a courageous and bold leader. And that is what I think leaders must be prepared to do things that might, to take a nation further, to build the self-confidence of a nation. And I think that becoming a republic is an opportunity for us to almost recraft the direction that we would want to see Jamaica go in. And our leaders have a moral responsibility to take us along that course.
Indeed. I also heard something about 16 issues with the report. I remember the number. But what are the issues that the opposition had? I just remember number 16.
There were quite a number of issues, and even
I think even the name was the first issue as to whether or not it is the Republic of Jamaica.
Also, they wanted to change the name of Jamaica to the Republic of Jamaica.
No, but the clarification was given in a footnote at number 9.
Okay.
The party leader, when you turn the page, there was another section which took away from that. So what the party leader was saying is that you need clarity. So from the outset, you were to be clear that Jamaica was going to remain the name of our country. And it really was not clear. You know, when we were having the discourse, there were several things that I missed a meeting. I do. The meetings are very challenging for somebody who is employed to them, self-employed or employed outside of government to attend,
Yes.
because we have meetings every Wednesday and every Friday. They
Okay.
start at about 10 and they go up to, say, sometimes 4:30, sometimes 5.
Oh.
So if you, like me, I have Senate responsibilities. I have joint select committees that I'm a member of. I run a law firm. I go to
Yes.
court. I practice. There are times when I cannot make it for twice per week. So I missed a meeting. And then when I came back, noticed that I had 3 issues with the draft. This was supposed to be the final draft. And I brought it to the attention of the committee, and they understood my point of view and revisited those clauses. So what I make that point because I'm saying it was an ongoing process. Even though it was supposed to be a final draft ready for signing, we were still finding things that we thought should be addressed. And so when the leader saw it, he with different eyes, he saw things which we had really overlooked. And I thought that his comments were very, very important, that they were significant, and that they ought to have been shared with the committee, and we could have looked at it before sending the draft report to cabinet. But you see, there's a timetable which the government is following. And
Yeah.
their timetable does not accommodate the constant revision and improvement of the document. What they want is to follow the timetable and to
Rush it
some at
through.
a particular time table the bill. The bill was originally supposed to have been tabled well from last year, May, as you know.
Yes.
It was supposed to be a 3-month window.
So I get the impression then that they're trying to rush this thing through.
Yes. I don't think if they I don't think that anybody can resile from that objective on their part. They're trying to rush it through.
You think it's that they're trying to catch the general election with the referendum?
I think that it would be unwise of any government to do a referendum close to an election. That is my view.
Oh,
They
so it could be
because
that they want to do it before then.
yes, but it's according to the timetable, which the section 49 of the Constitution requires. You cannot escape the window of a general election. Let me just explain. So the Constitution requires that the bill has to be tabled and lay on the table for 3 months before it is debated.
Yeah.
After it's debated, it has to lay on the table for another 3 months before it is passed, and then it is sent to the Senate. The Senate debates it, and it is sent back up to the House of Representatives, where the referendum has to be no less than 2 months and no more than 6 months. Dr. Barnett has worked out a schedule. At the time when he worked out the schedule, when it was expected that we would have signed off on the draft report from April, that schedule was to have the referendum by March. So now you're looking at having the referendum, say, April 2025. Elections
Oh,
are constitutionally due
yeah.
September 2025.
Yeah.
I know that if I were advising, if the PNP was a government and I was advising the PNP, I would tell them to approach such a decision with great caution, because to have a referendum during an election year is a political risk. All because people, if you don't educate them, if you haven't done your groundwork and made them understand all the issues, they are going to be simply exercising a political will. If you see what I'm saying, Kamala.
Yeah. But I'm looking at this thing with different eyes, different lenses, and I'm saying to myself, why would these people want to rush these things? What is in it? What is in that? What is in it that they want? They're insisting to have changed. Is it that something, because as you say, it is risky to try and have this referendum so close to in the election window? But
I am not sure. The one that I was totally opposed to and spoke freely against was what I call the Andrew Holness Doctrine, which is that whoever appoints a senator gets an opportunity to remove the senator. And that to me was very flawed because it did not preserve the independence of the
of the
Senate.
Senate.
And it did not answer the call which the people have made, which is for less powers to be vested in the political authority.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually strengthening the hands of political leaders if we gave them that right. And for example, if you had a state of emergency and a senator from the opposition decided to vote with the government, they would do so at risk because the next
Yes,
day they could be removed.
they could be removed.
You recall that Nigel Clark, when he was an opposition senator, voted with the then PNP government on an issue by giving his
Yes,
vote in the Senate.
I remember that.
And it is, and I believe when those undated resignation letters were signed, it was with that notion in mind that
They
the
want to entrench this in the Constitution, no?
we're right, and eventually, that recommendation was watered down. In other words, it wasn't a clear recommendation that be so. I mean,
Interesting.
when the report is made public, as I think it should be, then the views will become clear.
And it's only when we see this report we will kind of get an idea as to what are the same question you're asking as to what's a push in terms of for this to go through, because really and truly the whole nation is in the dark as to what is to come.
Yeah, I just believe that there are other things probably hidden that probably not being exposed as yet. As Senator Donna said, when Comrade Leader looked at it with fresh eyes, he saw things that he had issues with. So probably we just need to press for it to be reviewed and reviewed, because in my opinion, there must be a reason why they are so pressed and having this thing go through the system so quickly.
But Kamla, if you boast about a 1 month consultation with something that is so important to the
Exactly.
people of Jamaica, it means that time come for you to really go. Because the country, a lot of persons aren't afraid with what's happening. And I don't think the government is deliberate about trying to make that happen. So it makes no sense.
I get the impression that they really don't want to, that they don't really want to become a republic. Just listening to everything, I am getting the impression that when it goes to referendum, they would probably be happy if it failed.
Well, I think they are monarchists. That's my view. That has always been my view. That they are monarchists. That they like the association. The efforts that they're making to remain with the Privy Council. Because at one stage it seemed as though they went to lobby the the British government to allow Jamaicans who had matters at the Privy Council to not require a visa.
Yes.
It has always been more about resolving the issues which the public has with the Privy Council rather than liberating the people to have their own regional court.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because there's another thing that I heard. Can't remember where I heard it, but it was sometime in the conversation today somewhere, that the Privy Council has actually put barriers in place to make it harder for Jamaicans to access. They've basically put what is it that they've done exactly?
Patrick,
Well,
you want to take that?
We ask
The merit rule that the Privy Council has introduced.
all right. What is
that also it has a name. It's the merit rule.
yeah? So it's a devoid of merit rule that the Privy Council is exploring at this time, and they have really put it for consultation. I think it's the 17th, which is in this week, that I think the consultation should end, because what they're really trying to do with respect to this rule is to, normally you would have a right to appeal, but it is now, they are now kind of putting it through a filtered kind of process to say that if once you put in the paper, a single judge will look on it, determine that it might be devoid of merit, you would have to now present arguments on paper, which 3 judges will look at, and if they determine that it has no merit, then it doesn't really reach the court where you go and advocate for the client. What I see is that the Justice Minister has dealt with it very flippantly to say that, boy, if it don't have no merit, why you want to argue it? We should leave it alone, kind of chuckling and saying with that. But it's really a matter of the rights of an individual to appeal, and that right is really being taken away by this rule.
Right. So because I was about to say that.
The right is embedded in the Constitution. You have
but that's a conundrum, no?
You have 2 ways. You can apply. You can get leave to apply, or you have an automatic right to appeal to the Privy Council, and that is what they're watering down our constitutional provisions, and we have no recourse.
I think this is perhaps what the PNP needs to publicize, the fact that we will not have as much access to the Privy Council if this devoid of merit rule is passed.
And we already have challenges going there, and with these things coming in, it's in terms of it's really less and less Jamaicans will really be able to access. So it's a serious issue. I'm very disappointed with the stance of the government, and it's really a situation where the rights of the people are not being protected, because I can bet that there's not this consultation process which is taking place. I can bet that the government of Jamaica, which I think the Ministry of Justice should be spearheading, is not doing anything at all to do anything to protect that right.
Well, as Comrade Donna said, they are monarchists, and they don't really seem to care about the rights of the ordinary Jamaicans, as we've seen with the SOEs, as we've seen with the whole COVID lockdown. So I'm not really surprised. This is par for the course with them. After all, we have taken them to Constitutional Court how many times? And won.
And I think if there's any time that we should really take the issue of the leaving the Privy Council seriously, is now, when all of this is happening. We can, in terms of the Caribbean Court is there, and it will be easier to access, and we do have all these issues that we have to be basically pondering and begging to be there to have our matters litigated as a final court.
And we have already made a significant and massive contribution to the funding of the court.
Yeah, we spend a whole heap of money every year.
Okay, so we are actually funding the court already and not using it.
Yes.
So
they say that people can watch what takes place at the Privy Council. People can. The CCJ live streams all of its hearings. Not only that, but it will sit in any territory.
Right. I was about to say it will come to the jurisdiction.
Absolutely. It will come to the jurisdiction. And access to justice is one of the most significant things in the life of every citizen. And everyone should be encouraging that.
But Kamla,
Yes, Commissioner, go ahead.
Some time ago, I said on your program that the JLP, it has never been the party which supports regionalism. And as Comrade Leader said today, this ceremonial image of, we are parties. Jamaica is a party to the RTC, the Revised Treaty of Chagaramas. So is it just a ceremonial post, or there's no intention to give or to provide adequate justice or adequate opportunity for justice for Jamaicans? Because it's really a financial issue for Jamaicans. Just imagine people trying to find money to go to the PC when they can't even find money to access local courts.
Exactly. So a follow-up question for you, Comrade Shari. How is it that the PNP now plans to sell this entire notion of supporting the CCJ to the public at large? Because as Comrade Donna stated earlier, the longer these things go on and the more the government persists, the less the support gets, not just for the CCJ, but for
Kamla, I am not hearing you.
constitutional. Pardon me?
I am
Comrade
not
Shari,
hearing you, Kamla.
you're not hearing me?
No, I'm seeing, but I'm not hearing you.
I'm not sure why.
I'm
Are
hearing
you,
you. So,
you hearing me, Comrade Peterkin?
yeah, man, I'm hearing you. So I don't know.
I'm hearing you now. I was getting a call. My apologies.
Okay, no problem. All right. So I was asking you, how is it that the PNP now plans to basically gain more support from the public? Because as Comrade Donna had mentioned earlier, as these things go by with what the JLP is doing, after a while, the public, basically the support wanes. So are there any plans now to shore up the support for the CCJ? How do we plan to educate the population? Because I think that massive educational drive is needed so that people understand the issues.
I think the best person to answer that question is Comrade Motley. However, my suggestion is really for us to get into the schools and the communities, be at the bars with people, just explaining to them. Let it be a legal education exercise across the length and breadth of the country. But that's what we have to do, because we can't, as I said earlier, we can't rely on a 1 month consultation to say that Jamaicans are now abreast of what the CRC is doing and what the
I am not
CRC
even
will be.
abreast and I listen all the time.
So the party has to be deliberate about that consultation. Don't let it be we're informing comrades, but we should be informing Jamaicans and the
Exactly.
undecided, because persons are really interested. And if we leave it up to the JLP, nothing will happen in that regard. But I leave Comrade Motley to,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I agree with what Sharian has said. That is a duty and a responsibility which we have. But as I told you when I just came on, this is my first TikTok live. And I no, it's Shari set up my TikTok account. Thank you, Shari.
Nice.
And I see where social media spaces like this can be used to educate and inform and get feedback. And
Definitely.
certainly
You
from
have
this,
250 people watching you now on TikTok alone, and we're also simultaneously streaming to YouTube. So,
and I think that one of the things that we need to do as a party is to understand where people go to get their information. So, although we use the traditional methods of town halls and face to face consultations, we do have an opportunity to reach people over social media. And that is what I would add to the menu of ideas that Comrade Shari just outlined.
okay.
Just to
Wow.
add to that, I am a policy analyst by training, researcher by training. If you're going to move a country forward, it is imperative that you use evidence and you use data to guide your decisions. So for the JLP, as I said earlier, to be ignoring that 58% who they really want to see us move or have the CCJ as our final court of appeal. That's an important statistic for us to look at. Also, I think we should move away from the approach of this bottom up, not bottom up, but top down
Top
approach,
down.
where is what we believe the people want, or is, the timeline. So we think that Jamaicans are ready because we think that the 1 month consultation is enough for them to, understand what's happening. I think we should move away from that. So as Comrade Matley said, not the town halls, but the social media,
Social
having
media.
the discussions across the length and breadth of the country, the schools, the communities, it will change that narrative where, persons, Jamaicans feel as if they're not a part of the process, and not the JLP think or believe where they should be at, in terms of whether or not they're ready for us to make this big move.
Question, the poll, who conducted this poll? Was it a part of the Don Anderson poll?
I can't remember if it was Don Anderson or Blue Dot. I don't remember. I
Okay.
remember the data, but I can't remember who the pollster was.
All right.
And
How
that
long ago
is
the poll was done?
last year.
Oh, it was a last year
And
poll.
it was not like it was commissioned by a political party or anything like that. So
Okay.
that's what made it to me so interesting, because I must tell you that I was surprised by one, the level of awareness amongst people as to the CCJ, and the fact that they considered that it was important that it become the final court of appeal. And that is why the numbers have stuck in my head.
Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. All right. I am still going to continue to ask you about these 16 issues, Comrade Donna. Because believe me, I want to know. I don't know if anybody else wants to know, but what are some of the other issues?
Well, one that I found very fascinating was the issue of our indigenous people, because indeed we had not made any reference to them at all. And the reason why I was intrigued with what the party leader said is because our coat of arms actually depicts the Tainos
Yes.
holding up, I think, 5 pineapples and with a crocodile on.
Crocodile.
Yes. And yet we made no reference to them. We had no consideration for our indigenous people, which has been well established that they should be so recognized. Nor did we make any provision for the Maroons, no references. And the view has been advanced that any constitution which belongs to the people should also reflect the people. So that was a point. What another point which he made was that we have been discussing the whole issue of dual citizenship. And your listeners might recall that in 2007, the People's National Party challenged the qualifications of a number of members of parliament because
Daryl Vaz, Shaini Robinson, I know those
yes,
two.
Desmond, yes, sorry, Gregory Mayer and so on.
Gregory Mir at the time.
So since then, there has been a lot of discussion because a lot of people have US visas or green cards.
Right.
And so one of the things which came up was that the qualification to sit in our parliament is that you be a Commonwealth citizen. So that means that in 1962, when we were doing our independence constitution, the Commonwealth we were part of the Commonwealth. We were one people then, under one queen,
Right.
under one queen. And so if you were coming, you could come from Kenya, and you could come to Jamaica. And if you lived here for 1 year, you would qualify to sit in our parliament. So one of the easiest things that we had to resolve was that we knew that we did not want that to be the qualification. In our discussion, what we recommended was that you should be a citizen of Jamaica. But in the report, it said that you must be permanently resident in Jamaica. And that, I know the intention behind that statement was that you should have a certain type of residency. In other words, you couldn't say have a house in Montego Bay, fly in and fly out, flying just before the election and run to become a member of parliament. So you had to have some established residency. and we discussed whether it should be that should be resident for 5 years, whatever. But the way that it was said in the report was that you needed to be a permanent resident of Jamaica. And he questioned what exactly did we mean by permanent? Did it mean that we had to be living here constantly? Did it mean that we couldn't spend 2 months in the US? And he questioned whether that was what we really wanted, or we wanted residency, a different type of residency qualification, because there's no real definition, legal definition of permanent residence.
Yeah.
The law uses ordinary residence to define and to capture the intention. That was something that we had overlooked. I don't remember all of them.
Yeah, fair enough.
But there were matters which I considered that the committee should be put before the committee for the committee to determine whether or not they wanted to include them in the draft report, or they wanted to rethink their positions, because we have been rethinking our positions. Our positions have been evolving. Even though we had a draft final report, the first final report is substantially different from this last form.
Yeah. You know, I'm glad you brought up the issue about the indigenous people and the Maroons, because I know that one particular matter of importance for the Maroons is their treaty. Has this new reform even looked at the Maroon Treaty at all?
Well, no. And I know that they had wanted to make a presentation to the committee, but I don't think they made one.
Because it is quite possible now that with their treaty now and them having sovereign rights to the lands, if there is a new constitution, probably that will change.
Well, certainly it should be up for discussion. We have had some eminent scholars who have written on it, some agreeing, some disagreeing. So the discussion should be had as to the impact of the treaty and whether it is binding. But you can't just dismiss it because it's real. Yes.
Yeah, that is true. Because you see, the interpretation of the treaty right now, as you say, it's who calling me? Shari calling me. Okay. I think that she's made a mistake. She was calling the phone. So, Shari, you okay? You good now? Oh, all right. No problem. All right. No problem. All right. So now I'm going to open the box for anybody who wants to come and ask questions to the justice team. So, comrades, if you have your questions, you can send in your request to join the live now so that I can include you in the box. So go ahead, send in your requests. And we're not going to keep the comrades on all night, so don't take too long. All right, Hugh Blair. Welcome, Comrade Hugh Blair.
Good night, Comrade Kamla. Good night, Comrade Matley.
Good night, comrade.
Good night, my MP in waiting, Comrade Peter King.
Good night,
Comrade Shari, good night.
Good night.
My question tonight is, does the People's National Party agree with the position of Comrade Hugh Small that the whole thing should be put on hold till after the general election?
I am very concerned about any referendum so close to an election. This is not a new position for me. At the very first meeting of the committee, I expressed my concern as to how it would be managed. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think there would have to be a kind of approach which would have to be agreed between both political parties, because elections are adversarial. A referendum requires that two sets of political parties are on the exact same time. And I raised then, how do we deal with this so close to an election that the two of us are on the same platform, hugging up each other from the same country?
Comrade Donna, you're muted.
I was hearing some feedback.
No, yes, it's my phone because I
Am I?
disconnect. No, it's my feedback. You can go ahead.
Yes. So I share the concerns which have been expressed by you, comrade, by the question you asked. I share the comments which have been made by Hugh Small. The minister was actually on an interview with Dion Jackson Miller, and she was not pleased at what he said. These are concerns which we have raised. These are real concerns. And I don't know why the hypocrisy about not bringing it out in the open. Because if you don't bring it out in the open, you can't find a solution. I don't know if it is to be paused now. I don't know if that is the solution to it. I've not thought about that it should be paused. But I certainly think that we need to consider carefully whether it would be appropriate to go to a referendum in April of 2025 or May of 2025 when general elections are constitutionally due in September 2025.
Okay. And do you think the government made a mistake to bring the draft copy to Parliament before the people of Jamaica get a chance to see what is in it?
I think that the ideal way to have dealt with it, because remember, the draft report is supposed to be informed from the consultations which were held with the people. So it is a people's document. It's a people's comments which are supposed to have informed the draft report. So why would you not share it with the people before you send it to the cabinet or the parliament? It has been embargoed. It is, if right now, stamped on read across the draft report is the word restricted.
Restricted.
So it's very little you can say respect it then, Comrade Donna.
And that is correct. And
Sounds very scary.
that is the intention. But it's a people's document. The Constitution belongs to the people, and as I said, they say that they have been consulted, and that is what the draft report has been developed from. So why should it be restricted? Is what
How many consultations have they had so far, though?
they have. If you give me a moment, I would have to check to see, because
Okay.
we have not. I don't.
I think I remember two ever in terms of the public meetings where people could actually go to the town hall kind of setting.
We had town halls in Montego Bay, in St. Elizabeth, in Westmoreland, and in Manchester for sure.
So that's
We would
4.
have had at least 4.
But we have 14 parishes.
Yes. So I'm actually telling you now that 5 town hall meetings,
5.
and they say over 80 other stakeholder engagement sessions facilitated online and face to face. So the approach which was taken is that town hall meetings will be held in each county.
But I haven't heard of any being held in Surrey.
Okay, this will be my final point, Kamala. Would the intervention of former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson and Bruce Golding help at this time?
I think that might be a good idea, given that they're senior statesmen. They might be able to, bring some form of soberness to this discussion and in terms of lead it forward.
But let's be clear though, Comrade Peter again. In an interview which was done by Dion Jackson Miller with both former PMs, Patterson and Golding, Bruce Golding admitted that he had been initially opposed to the CCJ, but that he had been following them, that he had read the judgments, and that he felt that the court's reasoning was sound.
I
And the
heard that.
erudition, you heard him.
Yes, I
In
did.
fact, he gave another interview yesterday in
On
which,
NNN.
yes, he also made those points. So you have to ask yourself, what is the basis for this intransigence on the part of the government? Why is it that they have not done what Bruce Golding has done and examined the record and the reputation of the court? So Comrade Hugh might be, but we already know what their positions are.
Indeed. Thank you, Comrade Hugh.
Okay, thank you, Kamala. You can take me down now. I'll let
All
somebody else
right,
come
no
up.
problem. All right, no problem. There is somebody in the comments asking about how the diaspora would fit in the constitutional reform. Has there been any discussions where the diaspora is concerned, Comrade Donald?
It would have come out around the question of qualification to sit as a member of parliament or a senator.
Okay. All right. I'm just checking to see if anybody else has
Still with you?
asked. I'm checking. Okay, somebody else is coming in. All right. Welcome, Mrs. Escobar.
Right. Good night, everyone, and good night, Kamala. Good night,
Good
everyone on the
night, Mrs.
panel.
Escobar.
Okay, so I have my question surrounding the Constitution, and we have seen where this current JLP administration basically have made several attempts in court with the Constitution and have lost on many occasions. So my question is, do you believe that the Jamaica Labour Party is trying to remove the democratic process surrounding Jamaica, seeing that they wish not to include the opposition on matters of the country?
That question is to no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that ideally they would want to make some changes which strengthen the power and the authority of the prime minister.
Mm-hmm.
But when they say, you said Mrs. Escobar,
Yes.
that's it. When you dig one hole, you dig two. Because there is no party who is going to remain government forever in Jamaica. They have no absolute rights to government. And so they have to be confident that they can withstand the things that they put in place to suit them when they are government, that they can withstand it when they are in opposition. But I believe that the government has demonstrated in a number of ways that it has no regard for the Constitution and that it has a sort of authoritarian view of how one should govern. Their view is you vote for them, after that, shut up. They are the government, you have elected them, they will do whatever they want. That is not how the PNP approaches governance, on the other hand. The PNP listens to what the people say, and if there's a disagreement, they try to guide the people and engage the people to an understanding of what it is they're proposing. But this government is put up, shut up. We don't want to hear anything from you. You have no rights. And they keep on saying that. Even with the Senate was part of the constitutional framework from independence, and both parties decided that for the protection of the Constitution, there should be no amendments unless at least one opposition senator voted with the government. The first time that the barbs were thrown at the senators that they were unelected people and they should come out of the government's business was in the Senate.
Yes.
It was the government senators themselves who started criticizing the opposition Senate, saying they are unelected people who
Unelected.
trying to hold up the government's agenda, disregarding the very framework on which our independence constitution was constructed.
Thank you for that answer. It is actually very much informative, and you were able to dissect all the various aspects surrounding this present government that we currently have. And I have another question in which I would like to pose this question also. Seeing that we're having this constitutional reform issue at the moment, and I've realized that it has led to a more of a misinformation. It is big and broad out there of misinformation on the Jamaica Labour Party's angle. Do you believe that the Jamaica Labour Party should be the Marlene Malahou Ford should be the individual at the forefront trying to get constitutional reform?
Well,
Excellent question.
the whole point of it is that we have no say. That is the government's decision. She has been appointed the Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, and they have the right to determine who leads it. What I would say, my only comment on that would be to say that a People's National Party government would approach the whole issue differently, because we believe that you have to educate the people about the Constitution before you can make a determination as to what you. It's not about you. The
Exactly.
Constitution must be simple, it must be clear, it belongs to the people must understand it, and the people must know what it is that they want to see in their Constitution. So I think that should guide any kind of decision which is made around the leadership of such of such an initiative.
Thank you. So I'm actually well satisfied, Kamala, based on the responses that I've gotten so far, based
Excellent.
on my questions asked. And you know that I definitely have a passion when it comes out to law and the Constitution, surrounding Jamaica on a whole. So once again, I am glad I was able to join you on Kamala's platform, and basically to clear the air surrounding some of the questions that the public is basically asking also.
And thank you, Mrs. Escobar. Mrs.
Thank you.
Escobar is one of my moderators, and I see her
Oh,
busy with Randine, Comrade Randine, keeping the labor rights at bay.
well, I
So
must
thank
tell you,
you.
it's a pleasure to meet you. I actually recognize the name. I'm so proud of that. Um, and I am really happy to be introduced to TikTok in this way. As
Indeed.
I as I told Kamala, Mrs. Escobar, this is my first live on TikTok, and I certainly don't intend it to be my last.
Definitely. We hope you have many more over here. Mrs.
Excellent.
Escobar has a program right before mine, so perhaps Shari can arrange for you to go on her live, because how we do it in a Comrade Donna, we always have a live event happening. So there's always a comrade having discussion on TikTok from 9 o'clock in the morning right back to 10:30 in the night.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, every day.
That's very
Yes, we're on every single day. Every hour we are actually on. We have various representatives on. Tomorrow I will have Giovanni Byfield, which is the counselor for
yes,
the Gale
yes,
Division. He will
Mhm.
be on my platform tomorrow at 6:13, which
Great.
will be discussing issues surrounding security. And as usual, we always have a very festive live because comrades are able to learn. I had Mrs. Rasheen Roper Robinson last week on my platform surrounding education, and it was a very fruitful life. So we are able to learn, meet our various representatives, and we are able to convince the masses out there that the People's National Party is actually alive and well, and we are out there with just one agenda: to get Mr. Margolin in government as the next Prime Minister of Jamaica, and the word is love.
yes. The word is
Amen. Thank you, Comrade Mrs. Escobar. All right. I am all right, Mrs. Escobar, going at somebody else now. All right. I'm also being reminded to tell you about Dre Bryan. We have another comrade who comes on in the morning. I think
um, Comrade Peter
Comrade Peter King went on with him already.
Well, that was my first TikTok, so I'm
Right.
not much better than
Yes, you
that.
were on with Dre last week. I remember that.
Yes, and Comrade Shari had to give me a mini course this Sunday
Yeah,
morning
nothing wrong
because
with that.
minutes before I had to be learning how to use TikTok.
Excellent. All right. G Todd.
Don't worry, it's Granville. Don't.
Okay, Granville. All right.
That is always the case. Comrade, blessings and love. I
Welcome.
I wanted. I was really hoping today to tune in to the press conference. I sat in my office and I'm not in Jamaica, by the way, and I was waiting for the press conference. However, when it came on, the quality was poor, and I didn't get a chance to hear much as to what was communicated. Now, one of my biggest question is, what happens now? What is the next step? Because I am very proud of the opposition leader. I'm very proud of his stance. He's very clear. He's very strident. He's a man with an actual spinal cord that
Yep.
actually work. You understand? He's showing his spine, and I like that. I'm very proud of him. Um, my question is, what happens now? What is the next step?
Well, I can tell you what I think should happen. I think that the government should recognize that its attitude is putting this whole process in danger, and it needs to rethink its position and come to the table and have a discussion, not just with the opposition, but with the nation as to its reasons for wanting to remain with the Privy Council. They are saying that it's the opposition who has brought this to a standstill and who has caused a blockade. But it is not the opposition. It is a government who has refused to listen to to the protestations of the People's National Party and the articulated position of the party leader, and created this problem. The party leader in September at the annual conference made it absolutely clear. In fact, he made it clear from before what his position was, which is that the CCJ must be part of the early discussions and that we must leave the monarchy and the King's Court at the same time. So for me, the only solution is for the government to come to its senses and come to the table and show respect for the people.
Do you force, is it a part of the forecast that you see that they're perhaps rushing something because they have something up their sleeve? What exactly do you think they have up their sleeve?
I really think that it would need somebody who is not at the table to do that analysis,
Mm,
because we have been very engaged, trying, bending over backward to arrive at a consensus, because the People's National Party has since 1977 campaigned for leaving the monarchy. And since in the 1990s, campaigned for having a regional court. That court was established in 2001 and has been functioning, hearing its first case in 2005.
Shanique Mary. Was
Well,
it
no,
Shanique Mary? Was the
the
first?
first one was a Shanique Mary, the one that
Oh,
involved Jamaica, and they came
okay.
to Jamaica and heard it was a Shanique Mary case.
Okay.
So we are so I'm glad you asked that, because remember, we are, by virtue of being a member of CARICOM, we are part of the original jurisdiction of the court. But we have not accepted it as our apex court, as our final
Right.
court of appeal.
Okay. The next move I would like to see, and this is a personal, just me wanting to see and to experience the PNP's message as it relates to the the positioning, because already the government has started a smear campaign about what the opposition is not doing and so on. What you, in your opinion, in your legal opinion, what do you think? How do you think we should approach our message moving forward in terms of getting the truth out there? Whatever lies they're coming with, how can we counteract it? With an understanding that everybody should understand, because we tend to talk a lot political and legal jargon, and it get fly over a lot of people's heads. How can we get the message so that everybody can understand it?
Well, I think there are different ways to do it, but I think the clearest message is that if we are really decolonizing, decolonization means leaving the monarchy and the monarchy's court. So we can't leave the king and become a republic, but we're still part of the king's court, where the king can send down instructions to the government, which the government must obey immediately. It's just sounds so ridiculous to me, just the concept.
Absurdity. Yes, yes,
Really
yes,
absurd. And
yes.
I think the more that we have these kinds of sessions where people are free to ask their questions and come to an understanding, is a more level of awareness that we'll be building up amongst the people. I think it is very important. I think that a nation, if we want to see Jamaica recognize its full potential, we have to demonstrate to our people that we believe in ourselves
That's right.
and that we know that we can achieve anything that we want, including having a Jamaican being the president of the Caribbean Court of Justice, our final court.
That's right.
No way. When you look at the Privy Council, no, you see nobody who looks like you. It does not reflect you. They don't know your culture. They don't know our people. They don't know our language.
That's right.
They know nothing about us. And yet we are confident in them to deliver justice to us. Something sounds incongruous about that.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. And I want to thank you. I am confident that the team is ready and ripe, and as the mango is ripe. So we are going to continue with that kind of energy, the ripe mango style. We're not relenting. I want to thank you, and
Thank you.
we are
Thank you,
we're
Comrade Granville.
we're not in Jamaica, but we're watching, and we are not allowing. We won't allow it. If a plane ticket is just around, it's so easy. We just, when it's time for referendum, make we know we'll come home, can do what we need to do.
That's right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Comrade Granville. I think there's somebody else waiting.
Well, Comrade Kamla, after this person, I'm going
Yeah.
to take my leave.
Okay. No problem.
But before I even take it, I just want to acknowledge the great team, the competent committed team that I have the honor of leading. Comrade
Yes.
and Comrade Shari are two fine Jamaicans, two committed comrades. They work hard. They raise all the issues. We discuss them. And I am just proud that I am the team leader.
Wow.
And I'm proud of you and your team as well. Well done.
Well done.
Thanks, Comrade Granville.
Blessings.
Blessings.
Stay ripe.
You know I will.
So I'm going to take this last one.
All right. I'm not sure if the person is still on. I think that, all right, since there is nobody else, the person came off. But let me take this opportunity to thank you all so much. I really, really appreciate. Oh, the person is back. Sorry about that. The person had, oh, it's Twitch. All right. All right, quit. Twitch, quickly. This is the last one now. Twitch,
Yes. So
quickly.
I'm in the diaspora. I'm a member
Not hearing you
of.
clearly, Twitch.
You can hear me now?
Better?
Yeah. So I'm a part of the diaspora movement in New York. So I was at the last
Just done
march.
protest.
Yes. So when it comes on to the Constitution, this is where have a stand with that is that a lot of people across the world that are Jamaicans that are not in Jamaica not privy to the information as it comes out in Parliament and in meetings. A lot of people wasn't aware of this situation until Mark Golden came out on social media with the letter. All right. So my next question is: we also saw the CJ at the consulate, and he was they address us or say hi or anything.
Not hearing
So
you again, Twitch. You're gone out again.
they did not say hi or anything to us while we were there. So my situation is there a way in which we might not be able to go to the table because there's so much people in the diaspora? So is there a possibility we can have one representative to bring a voice for the diaspora in regarding these issues? Because coming us having us addressing us about investing in our country and so on and so forth, but not including us into constitutional changes is just defeat the purpose of being a diaspora investor in the country.
Well, that is one of the issues that we have been discussing at the CRC. The People's National Party has always advocated for a senator to the diaspora, from the diaspora. And there are things that we have to work through. One of the things that we have looked at is the qualifications for sitting in the parliament. And we have evolved to the point where we're saying that you have to have some residency qualifications. In other words, you have to still fulfill some, you have to be a Jamaican citizen as well as whichever citizenship you have. And there are some residency qualifications, but it's not really firm yet because we have to, there are some mechanisms which we would have to put in place to facilitate somebody being in the diaspora but being appointed to the Senate. It is under consideration how we would achieve it, however, and we have been advocating for it. And as I said, the People's National Party has been advocating for it. It was first proposed by then Junior Minister Delano Franklin, who is of blessed memory. He passed away. He was the first person to raise the significance of the diaspora and advocate for participation in the governance structure of our country.
Okay, thank you. All right, Twitch already came out. I hope that answers your question, Twitch. All right, so you've been on for quite a while. I want to take this opportunity to thank the three of you for passing through, coming at the altar with me on Politics Church. I know the listeners are very, very impressed with what they have heard. You've done a lot to clarify a lot of the issues, especially my issues, because I mean, as I said before, it's very confusing, and I just want to congratulate you on the work that you're doing collectively, as well as you, Comrade Donna, the work that you're doing on the CRC. So thank you very much again on behalf of the comrades on my platform on TikTok and YouTube. And don't be a stranger.
Certainly won't be. See you again soon, and all the very best. Good night, comrades.
Thank you. Good
Thank
night,
you for
Comrade
joining
Donna.
tonight.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Good night. Thanks.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, man, you too.
Take care.
All
All
right.
Thanks,
right.
Kamla,
Bye.
for having us. Good night.
My pleasure.